y'all. Welcome to I'll Just Let Myself In with Lish Speaks. Listen, I'm super hyped today because we have an incredible guest, and we're really going to get into, what it takes to have the courage to walk into bigger spaces. The title of this episode is Into Bigger, and as y'all know here at I'll Just Let Myself In, we love to encourage people to let themselves into the spaces that God has for them. Usually when someone says, I'll just let myself in, or you can just let yourself in, it's because what you need to get in, the mechanism that you need is already provided, right? The key is under the mat. The key is in that little rock on the side of the door. So you can just let yourself in. For us, that means that whatever room you're trying to get in, whatever industry you're trying to get in, wherever you're trying to go, God has already provided the mechanism for you to get there, and you just got to let yourself in. So that's what we're all about here at I'll Just Let Myself In with Lish Speaks. I'm your girl, Lish Speaks. Happy to have you here in my home, in my living room, with us today. Listen, our guest today is someone who I have so much respect for, someone who truly has given me a note of advice or two about how to be professional within our industry. And she's someone who really, I believe, is going to give us a couple of gems that'll just help us, especially as women, navigate letting ourselves into different spaces. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Téja Vale. Give it up, give it up, give it up for Téja.
Thank you. Hello.
And so, Téja's very humble. Téja's very chill. You might think she's shy. She's not shy. If you follow her on Instagram and you look at her stories, you will know she will tell you what she thinks about a thing or two. But always in a way that, I know for me at least, I always feel like, man, she just wants us to be better in our industry. And the industry that Téja's in is the music industry. Yeah. I'm going to read a little bit of your resume of who you worked with. First of all, Téja started gigging at the age of 16. Mm-hmm. And so she's been living in music for many, many years.
Yes.
She ain't that old, so many years.
I'm an old lady, I know.
And Téja plays the bass.
I do.
You play a couple of things.
I do.
What other instruments do you play?
I played alto sax and oboe, but
oboe,
primarily bass.
Alto sax and the bass, right? Mm-hmm. And so, these are instruments that might not typically be known for women, to play them. And so you're just a boss in that in and of itself. But she's been gigging since she was 16. Téja's worked with, the artists that she's worked with, most recently include Lil Yachty, J.I.D., Janelle Monáe, Stephanie Mills, Avery Sunshine, Eric Roberson, who I love, Jennifer Holliday, Frank McComb, Music Soul Child, Chrisette Michelle, Kyle Albert, Kendra the Family Soul, Kenny Lattimore, Angie Stone, Rhonda Thomas, and Chandra Curley, as well as her own band, who I love, all women, the band Venus, who I just love. I just think that they're just incredible women, all of them. In fact, I was just on a Zoom with Tracy the other day trying to learn how to write grants. They're all great women. I was DMing Jay Latoya about a restaurant she posted the other day. Like, y'all are just...
We love
the coolest,
you. So we love
coolest
you.
Women.
So.
And that's actually how I met you. Yep. I met you at an open mic I was hosting. Her band was just killing it. And I was like, who are these women? And so we've worked together a couple of times since then. But, you read through that list and you see all that Téja has done and you think to yourself, man, she's so accomplished. But when you meet this woman and you sit down and talk with her, none of that comes up to the front. Really, her love for people, her love for God, her dedication to professionalism, which is something we're going to talk about, comes up. It's one of the first things I think about when I think about you. Integrity,
Thank
right?
you.
She's going to do what she said she's going to do. She's going to be where she said she's going to be. Where she said she's going to be. She's going to be prepared, honey. Okay? She's not going to be learning the music in the lobby.
We don't do that.
She is together when it comes to this thing. And, it is something that really is an upward call for us all. And so I want to get a little bit into just your story, right? Okay. I know that you are a Miami native. So what was it like growing up in Miami as a kid musician? I would think that you were somewhat of a child prodigy if you've been gigging since 16. So what was it like growing up in Miami?
One, I love Miami. I miss the beach every day. But I started, so I guess I got into music. I took piano lessons when I was 9.
Okay.
So that's kind of how I got started. My sister and I, we didn't practice enough. So my mom was like, I'm not paying for this anymore. But middle school, I had to pick an elective in 6th grade. So I picked orchestra on a whim. And the first day, you pick instruments and all the girls ran to the violin. So then I was like, I'm not doing that because I have a little bit of anti in me. Like I just sometimes like to go against because, and I saw this big tall violin. I was like, well, I want to play that one because I've kind of been tall my whole life. And the teacher was like, oh no, you should probably play what the girls play. And then I insisted. I was like, no, now I must. I just will not do it because you want me to be like the other girls. And so he's like, well, if you're going to take it seriously, you could play it. I picked up the bass. I fell in love with it. Yeah. And once he saw that I had an affinity for it, he definitely invested in me. Mr. Blaha, my orchestra teacher.
Shout out to the teachers,
yes.
man. What would we do without him?
Yeah, so he really encouraged me from that point on. Unfortunately, the school lost funding for the orchestra program, so that went away. And I was a nerd, so I used to take math classes for fun. So all my electives, I just started taking math electives.
That explains a lot about you, This is why you have a commitment to things being in order. That makes sense.
So here comes 8th grade, and I'm summoned to the band room, and the by then it's the band teacher is Mr. Allen, and he's like, I don't have any tubas for my marching band. I need somebody to play these bass parts. And the school had an old Fender bass, and he's like, I understand that you used to play. Do you think if I gave you this guitar, you can take it home and figure it out? And I was like, sure. And I took it home, figured it out, of course. They're pretty similar, and I started playing in the marching band with the bass guitar and playing for the band program at the school. Okay. So, and it was tapped by a local performing arts magnet program. Okay. That band director came and had me play with his high school band.
And is that where you got into jazz?
Yes. Okay. So I didn't realize, I guess, that was like my type of audition into that program. So I got picked for that music program. And it was a big band, so I was in the jazz program, but then I had to be in all 3 bands because of the program. So marching band and symphonic band. So marching band, I knew it. He was like, well, you play bass, you probably play sousaphone. I was like, I'm not wearing that big thing on my body all day. He's like, what do you want to play? No.
Body rolling.
He was like, yeah, you play, you can play what you want. So and that's where I picked up alto sax and then eventually oboe. But
wow.
Did I answer the question?
Yes, you did. You talked about going up to Miami.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
So, as a child, learning these instruments, being a part of these programs, you talked about the funding even back then for the program being cut. We know now that
I know it's horrible.
It's funding in most schools for the arts are cut. I have a real fear for. I do and I don't, right? Because the artist is always going to rise to the top.
Yeah.
But we've seen art through war. We've seen art through... So I don't have a real fear. But I think I have in my heart, I just feel sad that these kids don't have... We had... And I didn't even end up actually playing an instrument. But I had real dedicated music teachers in my school growing up. They were respected. It wasn't just like a course you just whatever. Like they were highly respected. And I think that, now you kind of have to be in band for that to be the case. If you're not, it's not just going to be a class they put on your schedule. Right. And for a person like you, right, you may end up just going to band.
I wouldn't be where I was today if it wasn't for the programs in school. Like I didn't grow up playing in church. Yeah. I don't come from a musical family per se. So the music program in school was my lifeline. And in elementary school, it was everyone took music. Even the teacher was a traveling music teacher. Same with art. Everyone took art. Yep. They would come to each class. Yes. But
it was a well-rounded.
Yes, and I think that's what we're lacking. Like kids need to be well-rounded. Even if you don't have to be a musician for the rest of your life, but music teaches socialization. It helps with math because you're learning rhythms. You're learning subdivision. Music helps with studies have shown that it helps kids with English, because it's communication, and more than anything, kids need an outlet, a creative outlet, helps everyone, but especially children who need to, as they develop, we need these outlets for kids, and
absolutely,
it's just as important.
Yeah, and I'd say as someone who works with teenagers and stuff like that, if you're a parent, and your kid's school doesn't have it, I want to put it on you. You know, find an outlet for your child, something creative that they can do, that they can work out their emotions and their feelings through the arts. These studies are real.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think about when we were in the pandemic and how, you know, everyone went to the artist, right? We went to music, we went to binging, we went to, you know, when the world is crumbling, the art
is saved. Exactly. Yes.
Look how happy we were to go back to concerts and all of this stuff.
People need that.
We need it. And so, you know, put your child through a STEM program. All that stuff is important, but let's not neglect the arts. You know, sorry to get on our little soapbox, y'all.
But it's important. It's really important.
Absolutely. All right, so y'all, in this segment, we like to call it What I'm Stepping In. And it's really just where I show y'all my kicks for the day, my sneakers, kind of what I'm feeling. And today I have on Adidas Sambas, but I have on the classic soccer edition. And so all that is just the same Sambas, but with a little bit of a longer tongue. And I really, really like these sneakers. They're super comfortable. They rose in popularity again because they've been out forever. But they rose in popularity again a couple of months back when Kendrick Lamar started wearing them. And I've been kind of seeing them around. I work with teenagers and they was having them on. So I was like, all right, Sambas are officially back. Went and caught me a pair of these classic joints. They're super comfy, feel good. I think they're sleek. They look good. And so if you're in the market for sneakers, go ahead and cop you some.
Yeah.
All right. So you started gigging at 16.
Yes.
And you've pretty much been gigging ever since.
Yes.
What was your first big gig where you felt like, oh, wait, I am going into a different level? Who was that artist for you?
Okay. So I was gigging locally, 16. Fast forward to my early 20s, and I started doing R&B gigs and stuff. And that's when I started playing at church. But I was like a huge neo soul fan back in the day. Like Jill Scott was the holy grail for me. And so her record label was Hidden Beach. And so I was obsessed with anybody that came from Hidden Beach Records. So I had gone to the store one day to buy a CD. Let's just try my age, you know?
I had Who Was Jill Scott on CD. Okay. Sure did.
And bought the CD. I saw this new artist from Hidden Beach label. I'm like, immediately I'm going to buy it because I loved them. Got home. She was listed as like neo gospel. I was like, that sounds interesting. So I went home, and then I was starting to have buyer's remorse. I'm like, what if I don't like it? Because once you open that package, you can't return it. Over, So I was like, let me go check her out online. So I went to her MySpace page. Yeah. You know, remember that MySpace? Checked out her music, fell in love with it. Yeah. And I was like, this is my vibe. It's neo. Oh, it's the gospel. Her name was Onicha. Okay. Amazing. And then, but at the top of her page was I'm holding auditions for a touring band. I was like, oh, what is this? Because I had no concept at the time of music as a profession outside of just being a music teacher. You know, like I didn't, in Miami, the live music scene is really not as popular as it is in like other cities like here in Atlanta. So I just didn't have the understanding of music as a career. And then when that popped up, I was like, So I told my mom, I was like, Mom, I have to go to the auditions. The auditions were in LA. My mom was like, I mean, well, it's summer, so you have to take your little sister and because it's summer break. And so she had a cousin in LA.
How old were you?
I was 22, 23.
Okay.
Yeah, I think something along those lines. Early 20s.
Early 20s.
And it was LA. My mom had a cousin in LA that let us come stay with them for the week. So my baby sister and I, we went out there. I auditioned. I made the band. And I'm like, wow, what does this mean even? Turns out, though, like it didn't work out like... I feel like at the time, Jill Scott had a new album that come out. So kind of the album, the funding went there. The new artist couldn't have an out-of-state band. So it was, but that was the first time it hit me like, oh, I think this is what I want to do. Because I was working an office job. I was working as like a graphic designer / like office for a small company.
Really?
Yeah, that's
what don't you do
in my former life? Yeah, but I just was unsatisfied. Like I don't know, you know how you just I was restless. And I didn't know why.
That there's more for
you
to do.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was
we still feel that.
Even now. Doesn't go away. But then I just didn't know. Yeah. So that was the first time my mind was open to like. And fast forward a few years later, My first gig was Music Soul Child.
Okay.
Yeah, I got, he was in Philadelphia at the time when I got the gig, and then he moved to Atlanta.
Yeah.
And so my first touring gig was 2009 with him.
First touring gig, 2009,
Yes.
Music Soul Child. I'm sure you grew up listening to Music Soul Child.
I'm Mrs. Neo Soul.
Right?
I mean,
I'm a big, like, it's funny. I got Angie Stone's album for Christmas in the 6th grade. When I think about that, so same thing with Jill Scott. I was in the 6th or 7th grade when that album came out. I'm like, why was I asking for Angie Stone, Black Brother, you know?
At 11.
Why was I asking? Because my mom only got me because I asked, but I was into India Arie, Glenn Lewis. It was a moment in time. It was a moment in time. Donnie, it was a moment in time. Yes. You know, and so, and I got to give my sister, my big sister, credit for that too, because she used to be putting me on. Remember when Heineken used to make Red Star Sounds projects? Yes. My sister used to buy them for me because she used to work at Starbucks. And they would sell them at Starbucks. So then it was a Mela Rue. It was, you know, the Roots and all that. And so I was heavy in that world as well. Yes. And so you're going on tour with Music Soul Child, and, you know, this is kind of your first foray into that world. And, you know, you're in your 20s.
Yeah.
How did you find the courage to show up, or did you, as yourself in that bigger space? Because it's easy to be yourself local. Yeah. Like, I love God, I'm a good girl, I'm not doing that, or whatever. But when you get in bigger spaces with bigger people, sometimes it's easy to compromise, or you're tempted to compromise.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, I really feel like God really blessed me with that as a first gig because, one, I never had to question who I was. Like, so even how I got that gig, so we go back to MySpace, right? And me being anti, right? I refused to have a MySpace page for a long time because everybody had MySpace, so I didn't. Same with Facebook.
That's how I was at TikTok.
I was like, I don't need a
Facebook.
I have given in, but you know, I look at it every 5 weeks. But anyway, and finally somebody's like, you need to have a MySpace. So I had one picture. That's it. I didn't have any videos. And I just had a picture of me with my bass. Yeah. I remember getting for 2 weeks, I kept getting this message like, hey, I'm trying to reach you. My boss wants to talk to you. And I was, I'm just spam. Who is this? And it was a Sunday after church. I got home and this person's like, final attempt. And I'm like, let me just entertain it. So I opened the message and she's like, yeah, my boss is looking for you. We want you to audition. And I'm like, I write her back, I'm like, who is your boss? And she's like, I work for Music Soul Child. What? She's like, yeah, we're trying to find one picture. God had to send her my way. So he's like, I'm looking for a woman bass player. At the time, music was still based in Philadelphia. They flew me up to audition. He was working with a woman band in DC. Mm-hmm. But something happened with the bass player, didn't work out. So they were looking for a new bass player.
Wow. Your one
to this day,
picture.
One picture. God sent
that. Gave me chills.
Yeah, I didn't. To this day, I don't know how she found me. I didn't have any proof of
and she kept trying.
She kept trying. She could have just kept moving. Yeah. And so they flew me up there. They're like, you have a day. Let's say I talked to her on a Monday. The audition was Thursday. Okay. She sent me the show. She's like, learn the show. Yeah. I locked myself in my room for the next 2 days and I learned the show. Yeah. So I get to Philadelphia. I audition. We play through the first song and the music's like, okay, cool. And he's like, you want to keep going? I was like, I learned the show. He's like, you learned the show? I'm like, I learned the whole show. He's like, oh, I didn't think you... I'm like, you told me to learn it. I'm going to learn the show. Yeah. So I got the gig. But off of that one,
it just kept going.
God, I think that's what keeps giving me the confidence. It's not me. It's God. Every big door I walked through never came from anything that I did on my own. People think I'm hiding some secret, this is the source. It's nothing, anything I've done on my own, it's never worked out for me.
I can relate to that.
Everything that I've gotten came from a door that God opened. Yeah. And so that's when I don't trust myself, and I don't trust myself often, but I trust God. And so
Yeah. I love that.
No, seriously, that's all. I think that's what gives me the confidence because I don't think I'm the best player. Yeah. I don't think I'm in this industry. This industry tells me all the time I'm too tall, I'm too dark, I'm too big, I'm too old, I'm too, especially as a woman.
I can relate.
No, you know what I'm saying? There's so many no's I get just for who I am naturally. So if I were to listen to that, my confidence would be
in the toilet.
It only comes from God and the way that God keeps making things happen for me. Yeah. I just trust that.
That's good. I want to touch on something you said. You said she told you to learn the show. You locked yourself in your room and you learned the show, right? This is your first opportunity.
Yes.
It's 2009. So
this is 07.
07. Yeah. This is 07.
Yeah.
So this is before influencing, trying to impress anybody. This is before, let me get this gig so I can post it on my social media so my friends can. This is just for the love of what you do.
Yeah.
The world is very different now.
Yes.
Right? The world is very, very different now. Some for better, some for worse. Nonetheless, it's different. What would you say to an upcoming musician, someone who's young, someone who wants to be on, they're DMing people, it's not even coming to them, but they're trying, right? They get an opportunity and the commitment to being excellent is not where it could be. Because you said music stopped when you said, I learned the whole show, right? So perhaps you were going to get the gig, perhaps you weren't.
Right.
But that kind of sold it, right? What advice would you give to people, and even if you want to look into the camera, but advice you would give people to help them to take seriously the opportunities that are given to them?
I think it's important. It's me and you now, right? It's very important. Like, you must honor everything that's comes your way. If you're not faithful over the few, how can God trust you with the great, right? So like, everybody's consumed with like you said, let me DM this person, let me try to get connected here. And it's not about who you know, it's about who knows you and what they know about you. So like, your reputation precedes yourself. So you should be working on building a reputation of trust, of commitment, of dedication. Are you a person that is going to show up on time?
Yeah.
Are you going to show up knowing the music? It's so important. Know the music, and don't be consumed by how big the gig is. You should honor every opportunity that you have to work, whether it's 5 people in the room or 5 million people in the room, because you never know who's in the audience and you don't know who's watching you. And this game is all about your reputation and like who can, and literally every gig. I'll use the Janelle gig, for example. And I had been a Janelle fan since college. I knew all those guys in her band. I knew of them. I didn't know them, but I followed her for years.
Right.
There's no way I ever could have imagined that I would have gotten that gig, right? So I moved to Atlanta after the Music Soul Child gig ended in 2009. Like, I went home and I was like, this is it. I have to do this for a living. And sorry, I sometimes get off track, but there's another story there too.
So do your thing.
You're just talking about what's the title?
Into bigger spaces.
How God is just so I'm thinking, I'm gonna pursue music full time. My mind is like, I need to go to LA, like Los Angeles. That's where everybody goes. And so I was trying to figure it out, and I couldn't figure it out. My mind, and I kept feeling like God was like, no, Atlanta, and I'm like, I had been in and out by then. Music was based in Atlanta by then. Yeah. So he moved from Philly to Atlanta. So I was in and out of Atlanta for rehearsals and, but I didn't like this old country town. I was like, I don't want to live here.
I never thought I would live in Atlanta either.
Who wants to live in Georgia? Like, I did it. I was like, I need to go to LA, but I could not figure out LA. And every time Atlanta came to my mind, and I'm not trying to be deep, but this is real. Like, I just had peace in my spirit about it. I didn't understand it. So I was just like, God, whatever. I don't even know, like, the gig's over. I don't have any contacts. I don't even have a place to live. Atlanta can't be it.
Yeah.
I promise you, hand to the Bible, promise you. The next day, my mom's sister calls me. She's like, Téja, God wants you to go to Atlanta. So I called your uncle and I made arrangements for you to live with him until you find a place. Her ex-husband. Lived here.
Now, black women don't ever want to talk to their ex-husband.
My aunt, it's not like I even told her. Right. She just called me out of the blue. I said to God, I was like, God, I don't even have a place to stay.
Yeah.
I'm going to LA. And my mom, like, I'm trying to figure out this LA thing. And my aunt calls me and she's like, yeah, I made arrangements for you to stay on Uncle Adverse. So you need to go to Atlanta. So I moved to Atlanta in January of 2010. I just moved, and I remember I stayed with my uncle for like 6 months, and I remember I was frustrated. I was like, God, I didn't move here for this. If I don't have my own place by July, I'm going back home. Guess when I moved into my first apartment? July 1st. Every time, I promise you. So God, every time I'm just like, God.
He's like, here you go.
So in that first year of Atlanta, I subbed anybody. I was just trying to get my face everywhere. Yeah. So like, you call me for something, I'm going to. I remember I subbed at a church one time. To this day, I can't remember the name of the church. I'm be honest with you. But fast forward 3 years. It's now 2013. I am frustrated. I've been in Atlanta for 3 years. This touring thing is not taking off the way I want to, and it's like December, and I'm like, you know what? January's coming. I'm just going to be an adult and grow up. I'm about to turn 30 next year. I need to give it up.
Job.
Right, yeah. That was my plan, December 1st, right? I get this call, and I rarely answer numbers I don't know either. I don't know what made me answer the phone that day, but I answered the phone, and it's this guy, and he's like, Téja, is this Téja? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, this is Decky. I'm just trying to figure out who this is. And he's like, yeah, we played together at so-and-so church years ago. And I'm like, oh, I think I remember that. He's like, yeah, I'm friends with Janelle's MD. He's looking for you. And I'm like, what? He's like, I told him I knew you, so I gave him your number, but I'm going to give you his number. Reach out to him right now. They're trying to find you. This is from one time I subbed at 3 years prior. And, take it a step further, right? So that July of that same year, my mom had gone to Essence Festival. And she's like, Téja, she calls me, there's this girl, and she wears black and white, and she got a big band, and I could just see you on stage with her at Essence Festival. Like, that's the kind of, and I'm like, Mom, this Janelle Monáe. I'm like, Mom, I know she's had her band for years. Like, I just kind of I'm like, Mom, whatever. Because my mom thinks, like, I don't know if your mother is that.
My mother.
I'm supposed to just walk up to audition for people every 5 minutes.
And then my mother also doesn't understand why every video doesn't go viral. My mother literally says, I just don't understand. You should have millions of, because she just thinks everything I do. Why wouldn't they hire me? Why wouldn't they love me? Which I love. I'm grateful for the support.
My mom thinks that I'm supposed to walk to Tyler Perry's house and be like, hire me. So
why not? She might be right. Who knows? Mothers know. But
she's there, and she's like, it's Essence Festival. I could just see you on stage with her. And I'm like, well, Mom, if she's at Essence Festival now, odds are she's not gonna thank you. I would love to work for her, but that's a dream. And that's back in July. So fast forward to December, I get this call from Decky. Shout out to Decky. Thank you, man. Like, and I have not spoken to him. So, I really feel like he was an angel. Like, just that one time. But I'm gonna like, what if I had shown up that day? I didn't know my music. What if I had come late? What if I had a bad attitude? Like what? Like he would have been.
What if you didn't do it because it's just a church? What if they're not paying you a whole lot? What if anything at all? Maybe.
Like, what if I just? You never know. It was this tiny opportunity to open this big door for me.
Yep.
And I had no clue, but God did. God knew. God saw the road ahead. I didn't. All I'm supposed to do is just keep walking. God, it's a faith walk, not a faith. We want the flashlight. We want to see the whole road. And God's like, no. Yeah. It's, what is it? Where does it light? Like a lamp unto your feet. Like that's a light unto your path. That's just a few steps ahead. It's not, anyway. Yeah. I'm off topic.
That's good. So that's good.
Fast forward to that. So I end up meeting Janelle, and my first show with her, I get the gig. We do the first show like a week later in Connecticut. We open for Prince. So my first show with Janelle was a Prince show. Prince performed with us, right? Fast forward to July the next year. Prince is the headliner for Essence Festival. Yeah. Who does he request to open for him? Janelle Monáe. So who is on stage with her at Essence Festival? Just as my mother had seen it. I was like, Mom, did God show you the lottery numbers? Like,
what else the Lord show you? Did he show you my husband?
I'm like, what else do you see, girl? But that's like all of that from a tiny opportunity. That's so. I can be longer. All of that to say, honor every small. Because what if the reason I got Janelle's gig, outside of, clearly my musicianship, but I'm not the only talented bass player in Atlanta or the world. They needed somebody who had a good attitude. Like they weren't vibing with her former.
Could be recommended. Because if he would have hit up Decky, and Decky would be like,
I would have
she's great, but she got a lot with her.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Like you never know. You never know. That's why you always should represent. Show up as yourself, and who you are should always be like. You want people to be like, nope, I know her, I trust her or him. Yeah. I know their work ethic. Yeah. I know they're responsible. I know that they're clean. Yeah. Nobody wants to be in a tour bus with someone who's messy. Yeah. I know they're gonna learn. No, it's not gonna work. I'm telling you right now, you will get put off like the bus. But it's just all these things that people think should be talent and because my video went viral, but look at me shedding, like somebody's gonna we don't corner the market on talent. Right. Everybody's talented. What else do you bring to the table?
Good. So you mentioned that your first performance, this is just me out, your first performance with Janelle Monáe was opening for Prince.
Yes. Crazy.
Okay. Just from like being on your page and talking to you, I know that you've played with or met or played around Stevie Wonder.
Yes.
Right? I know that you played the Obama White House.
Yes.
What other legends am I missing that you played with or met or been around? I saw you with Stephanie Mills the other day. Even some you did Tiny Desk with JID.
Yeah.
Just went on a tour with Yachty. I mean, just how does it feel? Like, this doesn't have to be deep for me. Tell us whatever you want to talk about. How does it feel to be around?
It's exciting. I mean,
especially those that have passed, like a Prince. You know, like
man, that was a dream, and I had no clue. Like, I knew they had a song together, but I had no clue that we would. The first song I played on her show, he joined us. Like, it's just an honor, right? I mean, to get to meet.
Yeah, that's rare air.
You get to meet these people that you grow up admiring. I mean, it doesn't get much bigger than Prince. Well, Stevie Wonder is my personal.
He's my North Star. I say it all the time.
Oh my gosh! Woo! Like, so
when that man leaves the world, I'm not going to
be good. I will not be good.
Sackcloth and ashes.
I will not be good.
I'm not going to be good.
Stevie is and we had at the time we had done a show with him, you know, where he just kind of came on stage and like we used to do I Feel Good on the set. So we and that was like but then we did fast forward a few years later and we get invited to do this telethon for the Flint crisis. And I
remember that.
Yeah. And Stevie joined us again, but played his own music. So I get to play Higher Ground with Stevie Wonder, to get to play Love's in Need of Love Today with Stevie Wonder. And then afterwards, like for that one gig, everything was kind of tight because it was a telethon, it's lots of celebrities, so you had to kind of stay to your dressing room. Like, they didn't want a lot of walking around. And I was walking back and this guy's like, "Man, you're the bass player, right?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, yeah, you sounded so good. Me and my brother, we were so impressed. I was like, thank you. He's like, "Can I introduce him to you?" And I'm like, "Okay, sure." I was like, I have to go to my dressing room. He's like, "No, it's fine. Follow me." So I follow him into this other room. His brother is Stevie Wonder. I'm like,
what is happening right now?
He's getting his makeup touched up because he's about to have a meet and greet. And he's like, "You can go talk to him." And Stevie's like, "That was you on bass, right?" I'm like, "Yes, sir, yes." And he's like, "You sounded great." I'm like, "Oh my God." What do you do? Like, it's every time.
Yes.
The White House. Janelle, by the time I joined her band, she had, those guys have been with her for 11 years, right? They've done, and, she was a White House darling. The Obamas loved her. Prince loved her. They had been in his house. Like, all that was
already established.
Regular for them. For me, I'm just like, this is, but, they had done the White House several times before I got in the band. And then we were headed on, the last year, and I'm like, dang, I don't think, because they usually did the Christmas, White House Christmas. Christmas passes and we don't do it. I'm like, man, I guess I'm not mean, and
Michelle, because you ain't ready about Barack. You ain't ready about Michelle.
But like we had done gigs, but they were there, but I never got. So then we get the notification for doing White House 4th of July, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is it. So you go. It's another like kind of tight situation. You're in the room, like security is extra tight at the White House. You do not move. Like you're in this room until you're in the next room. So you perform. And they shuffle everybody and it was supposed to be outside, but it rained that day. So they brought the picnic inside. So they brought us into this room and it's like, here's where all the food is and stuff. Enjoy. So I go, I promise you this is how it happened. I'm trying to figure out, I'm standing in front of like the proteins. I'm like, I don't know if I want a burger or a hot dog. So I'm contemplating and I hear voices like, "Get the hot dog." It's President Obama. I'm like,
Téja, what?
And he's tall, he's so cute. And he's like, "Get the hot dog." And I'm like, okay. So I get the hot dog. Later on, he checked out. He's like,
"How was that?"
I'm like, "It was great."
Was he like everything you thought he was?
Oh my, he was so friendly and kind. Michelle, she's like your auntie. Yes. Like, they just were so, but like, I wouldn't even know how to pray for that. God, please let me
meet Obama, right?
President Obama and him ask me about my hot dog. Like, how do you pray for that, right?
Yeah.
I would never. I'm always excited to answer the question. It never gets old. Yeah. It's never like I've been there.
Yeah. Amazing. It reminds me of that scripture that says your gifts will make room for you. And seat you in front of great men.
Yes.
I love that. And I think what's so beautiful about your story, and I'm sure you have other stories, but what's so beautiful about the stories that you told is that, God has always seems to put you in a place where you can show up as yourself and be rewarded for it. And I think that that's one of the biggest things that in the age of influencers and all this stuff, which I am one, you are one in your own way, right? I'm not, there's nothing wrong with that. But we need to know that we don't have to become anything else.
Man.
You don't have to become anything for God to place you where you belong. Like, even the whole idea of this podcast of I'll just let myself in, what I always try to jump in people's heads is the mechanism is already there.
Yeah.
The tool is already there. The door is already unlocked.
You just have to walk.
You just have to walk through it. You just have to be ready. You just have to be willing. You just have to have the knowledge, right? If you don't know the key is under the mat, you have to learn. You know what I mean? These are things, and I think people like you, being in your body, in your skin tone, in your height, I want people to see that none of those things can hold you back if you don't let them hold you back.
Yes, that's the thing. Because you have to just believe that you're enough.
Yeah, and if you would have said, "Oh, I'm not gonna, go on that audition because they're not gonna pick me because I look like this, or they're not gonna do it," I've been very, vulnerable about this here. I've let my appearance hold me back for far too long. But anytime I put myself out there, God rewards it.
Yes.
There's not been one time where I put myself out there and people haven't rocked with it.
Yeah.
And people haven't said, "Oh, Lish, let me give you this opportunity. Let me hook you up with this. Let me," even you've reached out to me and said, "Hey, I got this opportunity for you."
I think you're amazing.
And I just really appreciate the fact that God is always trying to prove to us that that his word is true.
Yeah.
Like, I said this and I meant it. Your gifts will make room for you. And I think the room, when you were at that church, your gift was making room for you. Mm-hmm. We think the gift doesn't make room until we at the White House.
Right.
The gift was making room for you in the church, which the church you don't remember the name of.
I feel bad, but I don't.
It was a footnote in your story that led to the glory, and I think people don't. We cannot despise small beginnings.
Yes.
We just can't.
Yes.
Not to get all preachy on y'all, but we just really can't.
You cannot.
And so you get into these bigger spaces, you get into these bigger rooms, and you're learning and learning, I guess, a higher level of musicianship. Yes. I would guess, right? Because you're playing consistently, you're touring, you're doing these things. As a woman, who plays an instrument that is probably traditionally more male. Yes. What are some of the obstacles that you faced in these spaces, even being on tour, with these big names?
Of course, being there comes with immediate underestimation of what you can do and who you are. You always have to prove. I really hate being called female bass player. Yeah, I know. I'm a bass player.
You don't say male bass player.
You don't. Right. You just assume So because it automatically puts you in a separate category, a lesser category, and it's I'm just a bass player who is also a woman. But it's it comes immediately with a lot of people just kind of questioning, can you do it? I mean, big gigs, small gigs. I show up in a club gig in Atlanta with my gear, and somebody's like, "Who's playing bass today?" I'm like,
the one with the bass.
Did you not see me bring all this equipment in here? Or, do you know what to do with that? You sure?
Yeah.
No, they found me on the side of the road, and they're just like, "Hey, come on!" It's always you're always having to prove. It's the same way with being black, right? Yeah. In this world, you have to be twice as good to be considered equal. Yeah. In this industry, as a woman, you're always finding the gimmick. People sometimes will just assume you just have it just for the gimmick's sake, not because you can actually play or you're an actual professional. They just assume you just got it for a look. Which, in my case, sometimes. It's helpful that I don't have the look because I don't get,
to deal with all that other stupid stuff that comes with.
But also, just being a woman sometimes that can hurt you too. Like people, if you don't have this, there's been gigs where I've been too tall. I wasn't allowed to stand next to the artist because they were shorter. I've been too dark. I've shot a whole music video with someone. Entire day shooting, and for the manager to come at the end and be livid that I was the girl that they picked. That's not the kind of look we were going for. We wanted, they wanted a more racially ambiguous girl. They wanted a sexy girl, and they scrapped it. They didn't use any of it.
Wow.
Now I still got my money because I did the work, but you know what I'm saying? But it was heartbreaking. Yeah. I'm like, and the artist didn't even feel that way, but it was his team that was like, no, this is not what we wanted, and didn't matter, so.
Wow.
I don't know.
Yep. It's like that. It's like that being a woman.
Yeah.
I think about some of the sacrifices that I made in my life for being a woman who was in the industry and in entertainment. And some of the sacrifices that, if this all goes the way I want it to go, I'll probably still have to make. If you're comfortable with sharing, are there any sacrifices that you feel like you've made solely because you're a woman in this industry that maybe your male counterparts haven't had to make?
Well, yeah. Well, one, I definitely limited my dating. Mm-hmm. I especially when I moving to a new city, I was adamant that I wanted to be known for my music only, not for. So I didn't date because I didn't need anybody to say, "Oh, she just got that gig because she
was dating someone,"
or she's insinuated I slept with this, I slept my way. No, so. You know, and I mean, I've been here 14 years now. That's 14 years of my life where I was not married. I haven't had children. I don't mind saying my age. I'll be 40 in a couple of weeks, you know, and men don't have to think about that. When they're ready to start a family, they can start a family. They don't have to give up their body
they can leave the kids at home with the wife.
You know, but as a woman, you know, that's
You're
often
looked at differently if you do that.
So that is, and it's a personal choice I made to, because I wanted to, you know, achieve, and not to say that you can't do it all. It's just, I mean, it just didn't. It is harder, and I had a lot to prove when I decided to do this full time. So that, you know, when as a woman, I look back sometimes, I'm just like, you know, you know, I just have to face that. You know,
it's true. It's true. I can relate in the sense that I was so focused. Because I was doing music and ministry at one point, and then I went to just music, which is still my ministry. But, you know, I was, I think, intimidating to men. And I feel like I paid a price in waiting. But I also, just to encourage you, feel like God is a restorer of time. And now that I am newly married, I know for a fact that I got married at the right time.
Yeah. That is encouraging.
If and when I have children, if that's God's will for my life, they will be at the right time as well. And I think about, and this is something that you can take some solace in if you want kids or just whatever lifestyle you want. The level of maturity and financial stability and wisdom that you will have when you do get married, when you do have children, if that's your desire, you will provide them such a better life and experience. Than anything you could have did in your 20s. I promise you. I got friends who got married in their 20s, and I'm like, okay, that's one way to live. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm very glad that my husband and I were able to skip over certain parts of life, certain struggles, certain things, because we're just older. I tell people all the time, you know, people be like, y'all just, you know, y'all are so, and I'm like, we're not more spiritual than anybody else. We're just older. There's certain things you're not going to have an argument with somebody about in your 30s. I just turned 36 a couple of days ago.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. You just, I mean, we're not arguing over that stuff. Like, like, you know, we're not arguing about, we don't arguing about money. We have money. You know what I mean? Like, that we would not have had. I wouldn't have, child. At 22 or 23. You know what I mean? And so, and that's not to say that we're not going to have our struggles and our things, but I just really see the wisdom. And I was not ready younger. Music or no music industry. Like, God knew when I was ready. And I really do, even what I'm all doing now, having the courage to walk through this new door of being a media personality and the things that I'm working on, it really is a testimony to, you know, God waiting and making me wait. And so, you know, I ain't gonna talk about your personal life. I know you got some cool, cute stuff happening, but I do believe that God is going to really restore the time and bless your time. And age is not what it used to be. You know, 36 and 40 is not what it was 20 years ago. And so, you know, I always told myself, you know, before I met my husband, I was like, you know, if I get married at 40, 45, 50, and I live to 80, that's 30, 40 great years.
Thank you for saying that.
It's nothing to sneeze at. You know, I talk to a lot of single women, and I always tell them, you know, don't be jealous of any one story. Not that you are, but just in general advice. Somebody could get married at 25 and be a widow by 35. Be divorced by 30. Be a single mom. You know, just let God bless you when He's going to bless you. Once I finally got that, it took me about till 30 years old to get it. I was cool. I was like, okay, it'll happen when it happens. I still wanted it because I hate when people be like, just don't worry about it. That is not realistic.
Not realistic. No.
But I definitely, let it go. And for people who are in the music industry or just in any male-dominated industry as a woman, yes, you will have to make sacrifices that men don't have to make. But it doesn't mean that God won't bless you.
Yes.
Or that he can't bless you. So definitely wanted to encourage you with that.
Thank you.
We got 2 more questions I want to ask you. There's so many things on my paper here, but things I personally want to know. 2023, you were inducted into the new class of the Recording Academy.
Yes.
You get to vote on the Grammys,
yes.
right? Dope. You know what I mean? And in that group, you're very young to be in that group.
Yes.
And so, if there's anything you can tell us, but like, what did being inducted into that class peel back for you in terms of the desire for a Grammy? We all want a Grammy. We all want a Grammy. Did that peel back anything? Because I know with Killer Mike just winning, and we had a lot of quote unquote older people win this year. Which
my gosh! Yes.
The world needs to see that artist development and staying in your craft and persevering does get rewarded.
Yes.
But I remember a couple of people were on the internet, people who were kind of in that world saying, because people were like, how did Killer Mike win? And people don't know who he is. We know who he is.
Yes.
People who know music know who he is. But people were saying, you got a campaign.
Yes.
And I didn't really, I think I knew that, but not really. So were there any things that have kind of been like peeled back for you being in that academy now, being in that class?
Definitely just like learning from an insider perspective of like how, like you said, like the campaign is important, but like how music is perceived and like art, like they want to see you be an artist. They want to see how you're investing in your sound, in your music. Do you believe in it? And like, how much do you believe in it? And like being able, like, I think it's especially this year, like I was glad you mentioned like older people, like, are you okay with reinventing yourself? Are you going to be committed to showing my progression? And like, I think it got rewarded this year, especially. I know, I mean,
especially
I voted for Killer Mike
and Victoria Monet.
Yes, exactly. Like somebody like her, right? And she's a new artist, but she's been around.
If you just go to Spotify or Tidal or whatever, and you look at her discography, she's been putting out music a long time.
Quality music, but it's just like
Killer Mike was putting out music when I was in middle school. Like the whole world loves it when you don't. That's so I was a child when he and killed that verse on the song with Outkast.
But it's never too late.
Yes.
It's never. You just have to. Do you trust what God gave you, and do you trust His timing? Because His timing is perfect. His time is never our timing. My time, especially, is never my timing. No. God, you and I know, but my time is not your timing ever. But when it happens, it's right. Yeah. And so I definitely feel inspired. Yeah. It made me because, I, even with just my own music, I was struggled with a lot of self-doubt about, am I an artist? Should I even do this anymore? Like, what, should I put myself out there in that way? Because my music, I sing. Yeah. And I really felt inspired this past year and being a part of this process and being able to go for the first time as a, inside of the organization and to watch these people that I admire, watch these people in my age group succeed. Jelly Roll, look at him, 39. Yes. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
I'm if they
incredible.
If God's don't respect your person. I was so inspired. Yes. I'm like, man. Yeah, we can do it. Yeah. So I feel encouraged and I feel like this year I will be working on music, so it's
good, yes. Yes, work on music. Téja can sing. Téja plays several instruments, incredible energy. I would love to have you back when you put music out. Oh, yeah. I would love to promote it, use it, all that. I think you're just an incredible artist. Someone who, one of the reasons I really wanted you on the show was to really showcase to people that, particularly Black people, Black women, that there's several someones that look like you who are, and this is not, again, we're talking about not despising small beginnings, but who's not just gigging locally or just playing at their church or just doing that, because she still does, she still play at churches sometimes and do different things, but who really has taken it to a high level and who has executed at a high level, because you can get to the high level and then fall off the cliff, right? But who has executed consistently at a high level. I know that you have personal goals in terms of being an MD and that kind of thing. Yes. what do you aspire to as someone who has done all the things we talked about, right? You done voted for the Grammys, you done played with Prince, played with Stevie, played with, all the people that I named earlier. You've done Tiny Desk, all the things that and we didn't even get into that I want to know. We'll talk off camera because Tiny Desk just seems so cool. But as someone who's done all these things, what are your aspirations? What are the things you still want to do?
I would definitely love to tour with my own music.
Yeah.
And, my dream gig right now in my mind would be to be an MD for a house band for a late night show.
Like Jimmy Fallon or something like that. Yeah.
That would be
You'd be great
a
at
dream.
that. She MD'd the show that I was a part of. And let me tell you something. When I tell you the show, first of all, the show came out incredible. I actually made a lot of connections from that show.
Oh, you should, because you... Amazing. I am a fan of you.
I showed up and knew the music. And knew
you did. No. If it could have been my only decision, you would have.
Let me tell you one thing. I'm
always gonna bring you on that show.
And know the music. Now, I'm gonna do what I'm supposed to do. I'm gonna rehearse. I'm gonna have a good attitude.
You're amazing.
But even in that show, I think this is important to say. We were scheduling rehearsals, and I was having a conflict, and I waited to the last minute to tell Téja, and she was just she was gracious, but she was like, "No, this is not okay. She's like, I just need people to be professional," and I was like, I will never do this again. Not only to her, but to anyone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because she had sent out the information. And sometimes as musicians, we're just all over the place. We read the email, but then we forget, and then we And I was like, I should not be telling her the day before, hey, I can't, I'm going to try to make it.
Yeah.
And so, but I'm going to tell you, when I showed up, I showed up.
And I give you all of the credit for that.
But, stuff like that, having those one-on-one conversations, it's not about sitting on a podcast and telling people, oh, you need to be professional. That's important too.
Yes.
But that's a conversation I'll never forget.
Thank you.
Those things are important. A lot of times we're not telling each other
the truth.
Yeah. You know what I mean? I needed to hear that. Yeah. Hey, I need you to be professional. You know what I mean? I love you. I think you're great. You shouldn't be telling me this right now.
But thank you for receiving it.
Yeah.
And thank you for rising to the occasion. Because that's important too.
Yeah.
But, that show was a lot.
Yeah. It
was a lot. It was a lot of people.
It was a lot of people. If we ever do something like that again,
oh boy, I agree.
There's a lot of personalities, a lot going on. But you did a great job managing it, and that's how I know if it is in God's will for you to MD anything. I think you'll do a really great job. You have a great temperament, in the sense that you are very good at pulling the best out of people without making them feel like they're not already their best.
Oh,
some people, they pull the best out of you and they gonna let you know you ain't what you need to be.
Yeah.
I think you're very good at pulling people up, but not in a way that diminishes the gift that they have. That's a beautiful thing.
Thank you for saying that.
I've been around a lot of people.
That's amazing.
I've been around a lot of people.
Yes.
And not everybody got an invite to this couch. One, this is my home. So I'm very protective of.
Yes.
I don't care how much accolades or what I can sit on this couch and say how many followers you can get me or whatever. Mm-hmm. I'm not inviting everybody up in here. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Nice. But I really, how I feel about you. I really just wanted to give my audience and hopefully the world a chance to just kind of hear your story more and just know what you do. Even with all you've accomplished, I pray for your goals and endeavors.
Thank you.
That they come to life. We ask a question to end our show, and that question is, in the grand scheme of things, what do you want your legacy to be?
That's a good question.
In the grand scheme of things, what do you want your legacy to be?
Okay. In the grand scheme of things, I would love for my legacy to be that I showed up and brought joy to the situation, respect, peace, professionalism. I want people to feel like, especially if I'm working for you as an artist, that I was an asset, to their stage. I want them to feel that I brought God with me. I want them to feel, one of the greatest honors of my time with Janelle was when she asked me to pray. Backstage. I was just like, thanks, God. Like, if my years with her was just for this one moment, it was worth it, because in that moment I was able to invite God into that space, and she received it, and so I want people to know who my creator is and who I represent, and I always want to represent him well, and just know that I want them to feel that I love what I do, and I respect their music, and I'm respecting their process, and I want people to feel trust in me, feel I don't know. I hope my legacy is when people talk about me, I hope they say, like, man, that girl could play.
Yeah.
But also that girl, she made me feel good.
Yeah.
She made me feel seen. She made me feel respected.
Yeah.
And she made me believe in my music even more because of how much she believed in it. So like,
I love that. I love that. That's such a great answer. Téja, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for sharing your stories. Where can people find you? Where can they follow you? Go ahead and let the people know.
My website, www.helloimteja.com. So HELLOIMTEJA.com.
Yes.
All my socials are at Hello, I'm Téja.
Yes.
I'm here in Atlanta. So
Téja on bass, y'all. Give it up for Téja, y'all. Awesome. All right, y'all. Well, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of I'll Just Let Myself In with Lish Speaks. Listen, y'all know the deal. Go ahead and follow us wherever you are watching this podcast. Subscribe. Give us a review. Share with a friend. We want to go ahead and make sure that you're a part of this community and that you're sharing this community with other people. Listen, if there's something that you want to do, go ahead and let yourself in so that you can do it. God will help you if you go ahead and walk through that door. I hope that this blessed y'all today. Peace.
Yeah, I'ma have a great day.